So welcome to a special edition of Path to the Past today, because today's path isn't going to be walked because we're actually going on a live and working old steam railway.
So where are we today?
We are in Cranmore in Somerset and we're about to take a journey on the East Somerset Heritage Railway. So the East Somerset Railway runs on a 2.5 mile stretch of line between Cranmore Station and Mendip Vale.
This particular stretch of line opened in 1858.
So here we have one of only 5 K4 telephone kiosks still remaining in the country. Wow. Wonderful old W.H. Smith's kiosk. I remember the old W.H. Smith's kiosk at Hull Paragon Station. I used to go in there and buy me little railway books where you would mark off what train numbers and carriage numbers you'd seen. As well as the steam and diesel trains running from Cranmore Station, the old station is a mine of historical information, has been turned into an open-air museum. You can just see one of the 1960s diesel trains there, the blue one, which runs on some days, but today we were going on a British Railways steam locomotive. The line was the brainchild of an artist called David Shepherd, and if you go into this particular carriage here, there's lots of displays about the engines he bought and how he had this particular piece of line restored to be able to use today. The original East Somerset Railway was bought out by the Great Western Railway in 1874 and converted from a broad into a standard gauge line. Shepherd started offering brake van rides on the railway in 1973, and by 1985 the full stretch of line which you can now ride on was opened. The railway is a hive of activity, of restoration, some of which we'll cover later, and the care of these wonderful pieces of our old railway heritage. So whilst we waited excitedly for our trip on the train, we entered the old booking office and waiting room, which was done out in the style of the 1940s, and we certainly found ourselves transported back in time with the wonderful items on display there. But my attention was drawn by one particular display board, which we'll swing round now and see in the corner, concerning a particular crime that happened on this railway in 1883. How times change. Cigarette vending machine whilst you wait. Now I do remember these, fries, milk, chocolate. We then came across something a bit more unusual. That's right, an original Victorian cast iron gentleman's urinal, and if you've never seen one before, this is what one looked like. Each section says please adjust your dress before leaving, so we could leave in a sense of decency. It's a funny thing, heritage and memory. We're now getting to the stage, I just turned 55 the other week, where I come to these places and there's bits I can remember, such as the cigarette vending machine, the old telephone kiosk with a telephone in it, and the W.H. Smith's book and newspaper kiosk. And then there's bits far beyond my living memory. So we're going to think about the story of the missing boots and crime on Victorian railways during the course of this journey. Lovely old-fashioned carriage you walk straight onto and straight off. So the story of the missing boot. Well, in May 1883, a man by the name of William Atwell had returned from a journey to Portland down in Dorset to the nearby station of Witham. He had asked for some boots to be sent in a hamper on to Cranmore, but when those boots were to be collected, they were missing. Suspicion fell on a railway porter who worked at Cranmore Station by the name of Isaac Perrott. It fell to a police superintendent employed by the Great Western Railway, a man by the name of James Saunders, to investigate. At first, Perrott denied the crime, but on being accompanied to a second-hand dealer in Shepton Mallet where he'd sold the boots, he eventually confessed and was sentenced to 3 months hard labour for his crime. Now, interestingly, at Perrott's trial, it was said that the Great Western Railway was incurring heavy losses by this kind of robbery. So I thought I'd dive a little bit deeper into the career of James Saunders and crime on Victorian railways. So Saunders was employed for nearly 40 years by the Great Western Railway to investigate all sorts of crimes. I found a record of him in 1890 uncovering a large-scale ticket fraud that was taking money out of the company. In 1910 he was instrumental in offering a reward for the theft of many valuable diamonds and other items at Paddington Station. And when he died in 1911 he received some glowing tributes. This particular testimonial said he was endowed with a cheerious nature and with as kind a heart as ever man possessed. The deceased officer's portly presence and the well-known grip of his hand will be missed by many, but presumably not Isaac Perrott.
So we're just pulling into Mendip Vale, which is at the far end of the East Somerset Railway.
And this gave all the passengers a chance to disembark, take a closer look at British Rail 4110 and watch it decouple from the train and then go to the front of the train to pull it back to Cranmore. So due to the fact that this line was used to carry vast amounts of strawberries during the summer season, it has earned a nickname, the Strawberry Line. We're going to the end of the line. So we reached the end of the line at Mendip Vale. We saw the engine uncoupling from this end and then going backwards, the man changing the points and it then moving forward, so it's going to pull us back towards Cranmore. Just imagine the amount of strawberries that made their way up and down here over the years. So our friend James Saunders, pictured here on the back row, third from the right, was one of several police superintendents employed by various railway companies to fight the growing crime wave on the railways. So the railways were an ideal nexus for criminals because of the increased amount of travel and transport of goods in Victorian Britain. They attracted pickpockets, they attracted thieves and robbers. And I actually read one report that in 1868-9 there were 43 instances of trains being deliberately derailed so the goods from them could be stolen. Remember, major railway stations like Paddington, out of which Saunders worked, had hundreds of thousands of people, mostly strangers, all having fleeting interactions there, and it was very easy to steal something and then hop on a train and be away from the scene of your crime in an instant.
Or lost in an unknown crowd.
Many of the carriages, like this one, did not have corridors. People could come in and out and thus were vulnerable to muggers and robbers. Assaults became increasingly common, and sadly in 1864 the first reported murder on a Victorian railway took place. So as we enjoy the wonderful sights of these old engines being restored and cared for, it is worth reflecting on the lives of the people who worked on the railways. Some of them very good people like Saunders, some of them with a little bit more tarnished reputation like Isaac Perrott, the people who had things stolen, the people who tried to sabotage the workings of the railways, all part of the rich tapestry of Victorian social life. So yes, spare a thought for the people whose lives are entwined with these railways. We then had time to admire these wonderful engines moving backwards and forwards. We then made our way to the engine sheds where so much valuable restoration work occurs. The largest breakdown crane in the UK at the time it was built in 1908 in Ipswich. The East Somerset Railway is entirely staffed by volunteers and offers wonderful opportunities for people looking to get into engineering or people just with a passion of preserving the past and improving their own skills whilst doing so. The sights and sounds of the East Somerset Railway will stay long in the memory. If you have enjoyed this video, we'd love you to give it a like. It will help the algorithms as we grow as a channel devoted to history. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, we'll have plenty of content coming up relating to railways, wartime and many other aspects of history on our new channel, Paths to the Past. It's absolutely free to subscribe and we will be bringing regular content throughout the weeks, months and years.
So please join us next time where every journey begins with a path to the past.